Well, good morning and welcome to Doppler'S Gear Garage. How are you doing? Happy 2024. So, first of all, let me open up the chat here and take a look at all this good stuff because I want to see everybody that's here. There we go. Good morning, Jim. Hey, what's happening, my dear friend? Looking forward to seeing you at NAMM. So I've got a special friend here with me today. That is one of the original, exceedingly, exceptionally, can't believe it's here, rare amps in the world. That is an original Prune Boogie. And basically, it is the predecessor of all things Boogie. And it was built on the chassis of a Fender Princeton Reverb, in this particular case, a blackface Princeton Reverb, and it's a very, 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 very special amp. Right now, I don't have it gained up. What I'm doing today, a couple of things happened. I had all these kind of grandiose ideas of what I wanted to do today, but I'm going to take a slightly different approach because I kind of had to, and in the midst of all of this stuff, Pro Tools decided to crash. I'm a little angry with Pro Tools. Right, Jim? So, like, and thank you, by the way, Jim. So, this amp here, if I would, and the challenge is because I'm just kind of doing everything through this room mic. If I gain it up, it's going to kind of oversaturate the input and we will get digital distortion, which is never a good thing. Of all the distortion you get, that ain't the one. But what I wanted to do was kind of collect a number of thoughts going into 2024. First of all, I'm here on Saturday for you. So the number one thing that I kind of thought about doing was this very grandiose, all right, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, going to do that. All these things that I'm going to be doing in preparation for that. But I thought, you know what? First of all, for this first one, I want to know what you want to get better at in 2024. And this Saturday gathering of the minds and of the fingers is going to be about that. So I kind of have this concept called 360-degree guitar. That is to say, my desire is to serve people in a number of different areas. Number one, hopefully give them something that they can actually pick up the guitar and go. do so in tune, which I guess is a great place to start. Is going, hey, just make sure not only when you tune through once, you always tune through a second time, but the idea is how do we actually make music? And I'm not talking about hit play on a YouTube video. I'm actually talking about how do we start? So we're going to be starting today with the A major scale. And each week for the next 7 weeks, except for the week that I'm away at NAMM, we're going to work on each successive mode, kind of working through this. So cumulatively, that gives you the ability to go back and review the different things that we used and the different types of vibes that we did. The first and foremost thing with kind of why I chose the major scale is that, first of all, Western classical diatonic theory and harmony is more or less based around the C major scale, and that scale has no sharps or flats. If we then kind of take the DNA of that scale, which basically is 2 whole steps and a half step and 3 whole steps and a half step, and we just move that down to A, that gives us the key of A major. And I just kind of decided I wanted to be in A because I decided I wanted to be in A. Thought about E, but one of the great things about the key of A is it gives you the ability to descend down these strings. Below it and above it. And mess with it as such. The other thing that I want to be able to do, and we're going to be talking about this more next week, is gear that's either new, old, something in between. So people, Paul, great to see you, my friend. People can have, in real time ask questions about, for example, the MXR Joshua. Ron, great to see you, my friend. Hello, hello, hello. Pleasure, hello, hello, hello. So the other thing is I also want people to just jump in with what's your questions of like, I want to know more about this. I want to be comfortable at this. I want to be better at this in 2024, which means while you're doing that, I'm going to jump back into the concept of what I really wanted to kick things off with today about. I kind of made this little note for myself is that chords are really just the bits and pieces of scales played at the same time. So if you can think of, for example, the A major scale, and think, for example, if we took the first, third, and fifth notes, and those are going to be A, C sharp, and E, take my word. You'll find all of a sudden, you hear all sorts of melodic stuff happening around that. And with that in mind, I wanted to put together a progression. There's a song that actually is going to be on the new album. It's called Atmosphere, and it's going to feature, God willing, Andy Timmons. And that has some internal modulations. We're going to talk more about that. Dr. Phil, how you doing, my man? 51 degrees and sunny in DFW. But really, Phil, you're exactly the exact sort of person. Thank you, Gem. You are a gem. So thanks for that. I really wanted to give people the idea, and arguably more important than anything else is help other players kickstart the idea of warm in the heart there, of how do I kickstart your ability to sit down with a guitar and make and create music, right? Because this is, I think, one of the things that's a little bit of a void. There's, all right, you can replay whatever lick I just played and here's some arpeggios. I wanted to really create a framework for people to be able to go, how do I kickstart my own creativity? So starting with the major scale was the deal. So feel free, first of all, David Forsey, good morning to you. Grab a guitar. Play an A major bar chord there. Play a C sharp minor bar chord there. And a D major bar chord there. And an E major bar chord there, if you would be so kind. Because that's going to be the kind of the framework of where we're going to be starting. And in case you're just jumping in, what I basically said a minute ago was basically chords are the idea of taking some notes of a scale and playing them at the same time. One of the cool things about this is that quite often we can, if we're not careful, have a very blocky approach to chords. In fact, what I just did there what is that? Hey there, Georgie girl, right? Hey there, Georgie girl. Da, 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 da. But the point being is that those chords, if you look at the voicings, have parallel voicings. That is to say, and more or less, I try to avoid those, but I wanted to just kind of start someplace where everybody could jump on at the same place. And the idea is we're taking the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and the octave notes of the A major scale. Dana, hello, hello, hello. Good morning to you. How are you in Canada? Gosh darn it. Awesome. But I have a feeling that may not be Dana, or that may be Dana, and can I call you, okay, Ruxandra. Did I get that right? Hold on. Wait. I will get it right now. Hang on just 1 second. 1 second. I will get this right in seconds. Gosh darn it. Let's see. Hang on. Just 1 second. Almost there. There. I got it right. Ruxandra. So Ruxandra is one of my favorite new people in the world. First of all, Mark, hello. RJ, hello. I met Ruxandra at the Vi Camp, and this is going to be a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. Great young player, super excited about music, parents that are totally engaged in the act of making music, supporting. I just love that. And so the idea is, how do I encourage people to just jump in and start creating? Because I think for all of us, Jim Halbert, hello, my friend. The idea of how we jump into the creative process. Awesome. There we go. Hello. How do we just jump in and start creating? And the idea is we're just taking the notes of the A major scale. And we're just, in this case, this is A, B, C sharp, and D. D. Sorry, I'm on a D string. E, F sharp, G sharp, and A, B, C sharp, and C sharp, D, and E, and we're playing those notes together, and we're just kind of doubling them to create this chord. And then if we kind of walk up off the third degree of that scale, we get this C sharp minor, off the fourth degree D major, and off the fifth degree E major. Collectively, you can think of that as the 1, 3, 4, and 5 chords. And so it's a very straightforward to be able to go, hey, okay, I'm taking this A major scale. If I took the first, third, and fifth notes and created a chord, I'd be there. If I went up to the third degree, which is where we start the Phrygian mode, if I took the first, third, and fifth notes of there, I'd get that C sharp minor chord. And if I did the same thing for D Lydian, I get that D major chord. If I did the same thing for E mixed Lydian, I'd get this E major chord. And collectively, you can think of that as the 1, 3, 4, and 5 chords. So all of those share the same 7 notes: A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. And I'm just starting off the A note. I'm starting off the C sharp. I'm starting off the D. Oh, whoa. Got to play that G sharp. And I'm starting off the E. And if I take the first, third, and fifth notes of each of those and build chords, I end up with something as straightforward as bring the overall volume down just a little bit. There we go. Oh, hang on, you're not looping. Naughty Pro Tools. Hang on just 1 second. Let me get you, there we go. Good. Create a master fader. So what happened in the midst of my morning was, as I was doing exactly what I'm doing, Pro Tools completely crashed and took my session with it at about 8:55, which really wasn't the start I was looking forward to. But the idea is I just go, let's make it nice and simple. 1 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. Happened at camp that really, at the Vi Camp that is, that really kind of got my creative and my teaching juices going. Mark, always a pleasure. There we go. Oh, 16 degrees Fahrenheit. That is cold. So, hey, Peter Davidek, good morning, my friend. Spencer, don't I ever sleep, especially at guitar camp? Not very much. By the way, if I happen to miss anybody in a comment, it's because I'm busy focusing on the guitar here and from time to time making sure it's perfectly in tune. So one of the challenges that I saw people have as they went to, by the way, I'd love it if you guys would give up a hand for Roxandra. She jammed and conquered the act of jamming with Steve Vai. That for anybody, hey, there's an old picture of Steve Vai right there. That for anybody could be really intimidating. I don't care who you are. Terry, hello, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. So the idea of how do you set yourself up for success as you begin to solo over anything is you begin to find ways to map the neck. And one of the conversations that happened in the midst of camp is like, well, what actually happened at a clinic a couple of days after camp? Somebody said that, you know, their teacher said, only pay attention to just the relative major scale, don't pay attention to anything else than that. And while that works in some situations, in other situations, it doesn't. So the short version is you, want to be able to play things, preferably hearing when you play the wrong notes. And when you play notes, sometimes we have a tendency to kind of play notes without making every note count. So the idea being, and sometimes notes are just kind of, especially when we're playing faster notes, maybe we can't put as much feeling as into. When we play slower stuff, but don't miss the opportunity to really make every note count in its own way, whether it's part of a larger sequence. Especially try not to hit the G instead of a G sharp, which gets me exactly to my point. So one of the things that I notice players have is kind of, if you will, Swiss cheese spots on the neck, where they don't have the ability to traverse the neck up and down, having a strategy about how to connect the neck. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that people have. Mark Turvey, how you doing? There you go. So how do we develop a strategy? Well, the first thing is kind of go, okay, well, what's our tonic? In this case, it's going to be the A. And take my word for it, it's the A major scale. So one thing that's great to do is go, okay, well, what are the notes in? Brad, Guitar Miller, hello. Jason, great to see you. All right, I'm going to say hello to everybody collectively, and then I'm going to focus on the guitar for a minute. But hello. Thank you for joining me, by the way. So if we take the notes of the A major scale, which is basically A, the 1 is A, it's a whole step to the 2, which is B, whole step to the 3, which is C sharp, half step to the 4, which is D, whole step to the 5, which is E, whole step to the 6, which is F sharp, whole step to the 7, which is G sharp, half step to the 1, which is A. So collectively, that's A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. All right, now, then we can begin to go, okay, well, how else can we play that? Well, let's start on a low E string. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, bent to G sharp. And then we got this D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, and G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and then E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D. So that allows us to at least go, hey, even if it's a very kind of like, let's just take it in a linear fashion, allows us to kind of go, at least we know what we're aiming for. So a minute ago, I hit a G instead of a G sharp. Well, if I know that I'm supposed to be hitting a G sharp instead of a G, when I hit the G, I actually know I'm supposed to be hitting a G sharp instead of a G. Separate from that, let's just say we're going to not look at the neck. You also develop this tactile sense, and I can't say enough for the like, hey, learning to play by ear putting feel on the notes, and then beginning to kind of look at them without, before I was not looking at the neck, so I could really get the sense of, and wrong notes are great because it allows us to find our bearing. And this is one of the things, is that if we don't have a system for finding our bearing, we can get lost and we can kind of go down the hole. I'm learning to kind of embrace mistakes, even in a like, hey, I'm live and there's people there. I'm also learning not to beat myself up when I play a wrong note, which is actually a really good lesson. Hey. But the idea of learning to kind of play by touch is going to help you, because I know if you're anything like me, and we're a lot more alike than dissimilar, is that this is great, because if I'm playing something like we're going to be going over next week, probably an A Dorian. And if you play the minor pentatonic over that, my guess is you know that shape inside out by touch, by feel, not having to look at the neck, and so on and so forth, which is great. The challenge is that has created a box, the box of doom, where unfortunately sometimes creative ideas can go to live and die because we start repeating the same things. And all of a sudden it's kind of like there's a hole that the creativity, if we're not careful, soaks out, because we lack the idea of freshness, something new and inspirational that kind of takes us to a new place. So the idea of, and let me pull the track up here, and here's the thing, sometimes it's inspirational and sometimes it's not, but if you don't try and put yourself in situations where you're trying to draw out creativity, you're not in a situation where you're trying to draw out creativity. And this is really cool. The comments are coming in as overlay. So I'm going to pause myself for just a second. RJ, hey, this is super informative, because back in the soloing, I lack in the soloing aspect. I can compose a solo when I take my time. I love this, but I can't improvise, so I'm starting to get better at it, though. Okay, you are exactly like, if there's a target, you're right smack in the center. Like, how do we start? So in this particular case, I took, hey, of all the modes I could start in, let's start in major. And by the way, if I didn't say this before, I'm saying it now. I encourage each of you, just record GarageBand, Pro Tools, whatever DAW you might have, or a looper. And if you don't have Pro Tools or GarageBand or whatever, and you don't yet have a looper, may I encourage you to get a looper and literally just 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, I'm just outlining the first, third, and fifth tones based on the first, third, fourth, and fifth notes of the A major scale. And collectively, that gives me an A major chord, a C sharp minor chord, a D major chord, and an E major chord. And just keeping it nice and straightforward. Now, a couple of thoughts here. I just started off the notes of the A major scale, and then I just took the triad that would be appropriate, and I just said, let's just keep it simple. So it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't, in this particular case, all the chords go in order. Coincidentally, it doesn't have to be in order either. But the idea is now we've created a palette kind of just begin to, I kind of like it's painting, and the whole point, and I remember at camp, Steve sat down before one of the classes, the Vi Academy, and just had a distorted tone. So I'm going to do it with a clean tone. Hit a natural four instead of sharp four. That is, say I accidentally hit a natural four. But the idea is, hey Brooks, what's going on, my man? You're just getting a chance to kind of, if you will, kind of spend some time hanging out, not playing over a specific set of changes, not regurgitating the same licks that we play over and over, but just kind of go. So since today we're focusing on A major, I'll do the same thing. And what happens is, especially if you're not looking and kind of focusing on this, all right, I look. You're just kind of trying stuff out without having to force it in, if you will, to the grooves of a set progression. And I just watched Steve do this, and it's something I used to do a lot more of, and I kind of went, oh, I got to do that. And it was really neat to watch, and I think Steve was purposely, one, Matteo Mancuso had just viciously shredded, but it was great to just watch Steve just kind of fishing for stuff. And as we kind of actively go, and that means, by the way, one, giving yourself, if you have issues around this, which some people do, permissions like own it. You bought the guitar. You spent all this time practicing. You have permission. If you need it from somebody else, I hereby give you permission to have a great time with the guitar without having to judge everything you do. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm kind of getting okay with making mistakes here. I'm kind of like, you know what, I hit speed bumps, but I keep going. If you hit speed bumps, just keep going. So the idea is as follows. You begin to kind of get comfortable with the sound of... And the great thing about kind of free-forming through this is that each of these notes, one of the things, I'm going to put the track back up over that chord. To make the notes resolve, I kind of want to be focusing on playing the notes of the triad, which in this case are an A, C sharp, and an E. Again, knowing what the notes are allows you to know what the notes are. So at least allows you to know, hey, the winner notes are the A, C sharp, and E. The other notes of the key, like the B, the D, the F sharp, and the G sharp, are ways we create tension inside the melody. And we use that to create peaks and valleys. But then kind of knowing that when it changes to this chord, I'm sorry. And then this one. And then this one. That you kind of have to follow what's happening with the chord changes, because notes you're going to play are either going to be inside the chords or they're not. Here's the good news: is if there's 7 notes in the key, and most of these chords, well, in this case, all these chords are 3-note chords. That is to say, this chord right here is a bunch of A, C sharps, and E. This one right here is a bunch of D, C sharp, E's, and G sharps. And this one's a bunch of D, F sharps, and A's. And this one's a bunch of E, G sharps, and B's. So you have a 3 out of 7 chance of playing the right resolution tone, and the other 4, you just kind of move around in the key and use the other notes, that is, say again, over this A chord, to paint into the good notes. And I think for a lot of people, it's like when they have this concept of like I know what the notes are in the key, but it feels like I'm running scales. Well, it's quite often because nobody said, hey, look, if you focus on the fact that if we take the notes of a given key and we use it to build chords, then those notes in the chords are the good notes to play over the chords. But that boxes you into a set group of notes, if you will, versus this concept of I'm just going to hang out in the key of A major. And you just kind of get used to, I'm going to start with the open B string. And you build what I would call your note intuition. And in the midst of doing this, I'm also still trying to keep the feeling part of this and kind of make that happen. All right, let me just take a look here just real quick and make sure I'm being appropriately responsive. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. If I missed anybody and something that you wanted to ask or share, please repeat it. Andrew, hello. Happy New Year to you. Terry, Melissa, I think I saw answered that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. 2 albums in 2024. Eric, great to see you. Always a pleasure. Quick recap here. Each one of these live streams moving forward, there's going to be a teaching segment in there that's intended to be kind of a cumulative part of this process. I also want to clarify that there will be, and Pro Tools crashing this morning was not really part of the plan. There will be a weekly progression, and by next week I'll figure out how and where I'm going to deliver them. But the idea is you'll be able to download them. But I also want you to get used to go, hey, A major, C sharp minor, D major, E major, throw that down, a la. And that way, you're in on the creation part, because the idea is that, for example, then you go. Flip the chords around, and now you're in the driver's seat. And again, the idea is I really want to get other people feeling that they know how to cook with the tools of creativity, if you will. All right. All right, awesome, RJ. Thanks again. I'm just rereading that earlier comment. Cool to hear the minors, hear the minors in between for dissonance. So, I mean, so one of the things that is happening here that we can think of at a couple of different levels. So I kind of made this note to myself. I kind of had a little micro revelation that I need to go further. Is what is a chord? And I just wrote down, you're playing the notes of a scale at the same time. So in this particular case, the entire thing is literally just taking the notes of one scale, in this case A major, and playing them at the same time. So at the heart of that is we got this 1, 3, 4, 5. That is to say, if you think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, we got a 1, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to gently, in a hopefully non-embarrassing way, Phil, say, rather than thinking that the minors are creating dissonance or tension, I'm actually thinking that I'm using them to create harmony. There's the thirds, here's the fifths. playing. So to my ear, they're not, at least I'm not thinking about using them to create tension. I'm actually just harmonizing again. Hold on, let me just make sure I get this right. You're playing notes of a scale at the same time. So I'm playing this note, this note, this note, and this note, and notes of the same scale. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You want a dissonance? You got it right there. At the same time. And when you kind of think that's all chords are, then you kind of begin to go, probably most of the progressions we play, they're all sharing the same 7 notes, and you kind of begin to go, well, wait a second, does that mean that if I want to embellish these guys like... And there, I kind of gently moved out of key with an internal modulation. That is, say, there. And it was interesting. I did something like that at the clinic, and I think Larry Mitchell, Chris Cisneros, and I did a pair of clinic shows, and I could hear. And I could just, and then I was like, oh, that's gonna be, and so I'm kind of going, if you will, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm at the 4 chord, 3 chord, and I'm gonna play it a little differently for a little bit more, and then instead of going to the 2 chord, I'm playing it as a major chord instead of a minor chord. That is, say, if I were taking the notes of the A major scale, it's gonna go A, B, C sharp, D, E, and instead of going that D there, I'm playing a D sharp, just adding a little bit of. And it's by ear that we begin to hear this stuff, right? So getting back to that, I'm just hitting the open A string. And I'm not trying to, in this particular case, think A, C sharp, B, D, C sharp, E, D, F sharp, E, G sharp, F sharp, A, G sharp, B, and A, C sharp. I can think that way. By the way, let me back up a step because I want to clarify that. I am harmonizing the A major scale in thirds. One of the ways you can think about this, and this is how Mr. Steve Vai thinks about these triad chords, and you'll hear me say this again and again because it's really clever, is he thinks about these as chord scales. I'm taking the G major scale, and I'm, in this case, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And on this string, I'm just going G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And on this string, I'm going G, A, B, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And on this string, I'm going D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F sharp, C, E, G, D, F sharp, A, E, G, B, F sharp, A, C, G, B, D. That is we're starting with G, B, and a D. The G becomes an A, the B becomes a C, the D becomes an E. So literally he's thinking about playing chord scales. So you're just navigating on multiple strings. Again, it gets back to my point is a chord. You're playing the notes of a scale at the same time. In this particular case, these are what I refer to as parallel chord voicings. We're playing the 1, 3, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just up an octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the G major scale, and we're just moving these parallel chord voicings up and down the neck, which gets me to a sub point, but it ties into the whole thing, is most people aren't taught to think about chords in the framework of the 7 degrees of the major scale. So when you begin to do that, which is why we have 1, 3, 4, 5, nice and straightforward. And again, if you want to record your own version, actually, I'm going to beg you, please, to record your own version, but change the chords around. Go 1, 4, 3, 5. So purposely change them up. But you're cooking with the same tools, right? So the deal is that if we were to take a look at an A major open position chord and this B minor chord, sorry, the C sharp minor chord, this D major and this E major, these voicings are the same. I'm basically going, these notes, take my word for it, are A, E, A, C sharp, and E. And if I took those, really important moment. Hitting the pause button. Gilberto, hola, ¿qué pasa, amigo? If we were to take those notes in this chord, and this is one of the things that gives people a really hard time, is that's great, Doug. I see what you're doing, but how do I know a given chord, what it's representing? So the short version is just on a simple A chord, that the notes are A, E, A, C sharp, and E. For the sake of time, I'm not going to talk about why that's a C sharp and not a D flat today. Tempted, but we'll get to that in coming weeks. But the deal is really then, wait a second, there's two A's, there's one C sharp, and there's two E's. So if you unscramble that in alphabetical order starting on the root, it's just a bunch of A's, C sharps, and E's. A, C sharp, and E. A, C sharp, and E. So you could think about the A major scale, whose notes are A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Or you can think about it A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. But regardless, that A, C sharp, and E are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th tones. So instead of playing that C sharp there, I played a C. That's a minor chord. And the notes, instead of being A, E, A, C sharp, E, are A, E, A, C, E. And instead of numerically, the A is the 1, the C sharp is the 3, and the E is the 5, instead of going 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, we're going 1, 5, 1, flat 3, 5. So collectively, then we kind of march that up here and play it as a bar chord. This voicing is 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. And this one is 1, 5, 1, flat 3, 5. And this one is 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. And this one is 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. Most people don't look at chords like that. I look at every chord I play much like that. And so as I'm playing a voicing, I'm seeing how the bass note is functioning, 1, 3, 4, 5. I'm seeing whether I'm playing parallel chord voicings, which to me sound a little blocky, but I wanted to start someplace that was just like, if I'm going to start people at a place that everybody can jump on board, parallel chord voicings is a great way to go there. The chord that I actually played before was a V minor flat 13. Really what I was doing was taking, that's the 5 right there. Again, a minute ago we said, hey, that's 1, 5, 1, flat 3, 5. What I did was I took the note a half step above the 5, which, take my word for it, is a flat 6. And instead of playing the octave, that 1, I went down a whole step from there. That's a flat 7. And that's one of my favorite chords. I will opt for that almost always over that, or I'll just play a minor 7. But the point being is that allows me to add a little bit more flavor. But I wanted to start just with straight major and minor chords. And we're not playing anything over the 7th degree of the major scale. There's no really great bar chord to play for that. There's some other things. That is to say, if I took the triads for the key of A major, the 7th degree, you play a diminished triad, which is, take my word for it, instead of 1, 3, 5, and 1, flat 3, 5, it's 1, flat 3, flat 5. And there aren't any good bar chord shapes for the 6th or 5th string root, because every one of these bar chords starts with the root in the 5th. And that flat 5 there, which was what you would play for the 7th tone of the major scale, in this case A major, there aren't any good bar chord shapes. So what I quite often will do, in this case, this is like a D major chord moved up a whole step. I'll play it over G sharp in the bass. That is an E major in first inversion, but in this particular case, I'm thinking about it as an E over G sharp, which I'm using as a 5, 6, 7, 1. So that's a 1, 3, 4, 7, 1. All right. Now, let me just jump in and make sure I haven't missed anything important here. Bobby Valdez, great to see you. Got any new gear this last few weeks? So first of all, hold on, I'm going to bring this in here, and that's going to change applications. One of the things that is going to be a very important part of what we're going to be doing, besides the like, hey, let's get on the same bus and play some music together. And by the way, Brian Kehoe, oh, there we go. Come on, right there, my man. And if I missed your grand entrance, my dear brother, I mentioned that next week we're going to be taking a little deep dive on the Joshua. My buddy Brian is my main man at Dunlop/MXR and is also a dear friend of more years than I can add in this moment and care to share publicly, other than to say he's one of my favoriteest people in the whole world. Brilliant musician, great player, great guy, and a brother in arms here in the Bay Area. So to answer your question, Bobby Valdez, there is a demo that I did for the MXR Joshua, which is my, dare I say, my favorite delay of the moment, because it is super amazing. So next week I'm going to do a deep dive on that. And what's going to happen is the show is going to be segmented into pieces. And today I just kind of wanted to do something a little bit different where, first of all, Tony, thank you, by the way, for the coffee cup. I don't have any hot coffee to put in it, but it is so cool, so thank you. I want you guys to say, hey, can you go over this? So one of the things that I want to be able to do, because I have a constant flow of new and groovy gear coming through here, is to also kind of do a live, without a net, kind of a demo thing, so I can go, hey, this came in, and I will be letting people know in advance what I'm going to be covering. This week, it just didn't quite play out like that. Mac Ross, how you doing? Fellow sensei. I don't know if I'm arrogant to call myself sensei, but since you called me that, I'll just say fellow sensei. Great to see you, my friend. So the deal is, because this concept of 360-degree guitar, if I'm going to be brutally and totally honest, it kind of came from the idea of what happened when I studied with Joe Satriani, is that he was teaching me as a student. I was going out and seeing his band play, and I was, whatever piece of gear Joe had, I had to have it. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that I am a Joe Satriani to you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that model of like, hey, I have access to all this stuff that I'm going to say desperate to share with you, because I'm so excited about it. There is a sense of desperation. I can't wait. So the idea is being able to talk about my new favorite delay, being able to talk about, I am playing through one of the original. This thing is so crazy, unbelievably rare. This is what they call the prune boogie. So this is what Randall Smith, before Mesa Boogie existed, before all of that stuff happened, this is one of the original boogies. Now the amazing thing is, that right there is another one. So, gosh darn it, I'm not going to reveal the source in this one. Yeah, I will. It's my buddy Fat Dog. He's loaned me both of these. And the crazy thing about this one is that most of the prune boogies, in fact, the only ones that I ever knew of were built on a black face, because it's a black face Princeton reverb. This is on a brown face, hence the brown face Princeton amp that does not have reverb. The point being is this is a place where in Doppler's Vintage Vault, we're going to be talking about vintagey gear. But this little amp here, crazy. And when you turn it up, it gets all kinds of nasty. But listen to that tone. So, to answer your question, Yes, we will be talking about gear, and I'm going to get back to all of that. But let me get back to this thing. First of all, Jerry, rather, Happy New Year to you. Thank you, Melissa. You are correct in that. Edmund, hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining us, my man. Love that photo. CC, good morning to you. So CC's kind of one of my favorite. They're all kind of favorite, but he's one of my favorite students. And one of the things that he's exactly in the middle of that kind of like trying to help others just kind of find that creative spot where they can sit down and take all the passion they've got and just create on their own, because there's so much stuff that's out there. And he's part of Guitar Mastery Method as well. And one of the things that they do really well is get the people that are there. I'm being teased to jump into the chat here, but give me a moment. Look at all the people here today! Holy cow! The idea is, how do I get other people creating rather than playing stuff that's already been played? How do I get you to pick up the guitar and go, I made that myself, right? And there's a satisfaction and a fulfillment where it's just kind of like, hey, take these same tools and fuss around with them. So awesome, awesome. Andrew, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Love that photo, by the way. Matt King, speaking of great players, holy cow. Great to see you, my friend. Okay, you guys are too kind. Braxel, hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year to you. JKM John Mello. I don't know why some people I greet with music and others that I don't, but John and I are GIT buddies, great player, fellow teacher in Bay Area, brother. And we were hanging tight at the Vi Academy. All right, let me get back to work here real quick. Ed May, you are so kind. I love you like a brother because you are like a brother. Gosh darn it. Curtis Wilson, hello. Great to see you, my friend. Hello, hello, hello. Great to see you. Okay, okay, okay. I know Maddie is coming out with a couple of things. So, yes. So, this is the TRS breakout box. So, there's going to be, I'm going to be creating some content for this. I'm going to be creating more content for the Joshua and the Origin Effects Cali 76. And these amps, there are going to be video for these because there's going to be video for those. All right. Jimmy Jet, you rock, my friend. Big Fat Nose, milk them. By the way, one of the things that we're going to do, and today is not the day for that, is that blackface reverb like the one that might be built for Terry Haggerty. So short version, and we're going to do a long, once I've spent more time with these, and I've got, my friends at Mojo Tone have created, I can't get to it easily. They've created an isolated 212 box that's got two 12-inch speakers in it. You can put mics on it, but what I'm going to be doing for proper live stream demos of these amps, because I want you to hear them and experience them and ask questions, kind of like, I don't know, turn it up, turn it down. You know, it's basically remote control the Doppler, you know. But I'll be then kind of using either the two notes or the two cab clone IRs there. One of the things that Melissa Doppler, bless her dear soul, has allowed me to do is collect some gear that will make it easier for me to present stuff both for on-demand video and for live stream stuff where people, hey, can you do this? And I can actually do it without having to use the room mic. And in this particular case, I picked this up last night. It's not mine. I wanted to be able to kind of let you hear it in the room. It's not as high fidelity as I would like, but I messed with it and did a little bit of test audio to get that. Jimmy, I will definitely see you at NAMM. Oh, good. All right, so back to the idea of what we're going to be covering. And every week at the beginning, didn't happen this week, there'll be like a little, the day before, there'll be a little video talking about what we're going to be going over in a given week. That same video will be at the beginning of the stream, so you'll be able to kind of go what this is. If I'm on my good behavior, then I will also create chapter markers on the replay so people can get to that content. And the idea is that it will be more formulaic than kind of what I'm doing now, where it's just a little bit of this, where there are going to be specific things we're going to be covering. They're going to be, and I really appreciate your asking that, Bobby, specific pieces of gear we're going to be going over. I can say with a fair amount of certainty there's going to be something from Doppler's Vintage Vault. There's going to be some new piece of gear almost every week, maybe not every week. There will definitely be a teaching segment, and with the exception of the week that I'm at NAM, for the next 6 weeks, we're going to go over a new mode and just a simple way to get modal right away, which gets us back to that. And there'll be more stuff, but that'll do for right now. How to, there was some little aside. So one of the things that I mentioned is people have a tendency to get boxed in and blocked in with the pentatonic. Whether it's playing the same licks, maybe we get better at playing the same licks, or maybe we get a little less inspired every time we play lick 1A. The idea is by taking the neck and again, the idea is if you can sit there with each note, and first of all, I'm purposely not looking. So before I get the track back going, we're just taking notes of A, B, A. And the great thing about using the open string, you should be able to hear and feel your way up through the frets. And wrong notes are permitted because they help you by touch. The other thing you'll be getting. You can begin to add some chromaticism. So let's say, for example, going from the from the 5, that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take my word for that's an E. And this one is also an E. And from the 5 to the 6 is a whole step. Pause button. Major scale. If you leave here with only 2 things to keep in mind, with the exception of the 1, 2, 3rd note going to the 4th note, and the 5, 6, 7 going back to the first note again, the octave. You can think of it as 7 and 8. I think about it as 7 and 1 because I want to go 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. The half steps occur between 3 and 4 and 7 and 1. So that is to say, if you didn't know anything about note names, keys, or anything, but you're like, hey, I want to start someplace, start with A, move up a whole step. That is to say 2 frets, because that's the 2, whole step to the 3. It's a half step, like I said, to the 4. Half step occurred between 3 and 4, and 7 and 1. So that allows you to just be able to go, okay, well, if that's true, so that means you should be able to play over. So that's interesting. So that phrase, all those notes were in key. Didn't sound good. Sounds better. Didn't quite sound right. So there will be times you play something like, wait, those are in key, but. Also, you can work with pedals. Same way you can think about parallel chord voicings, that is to say, taking the notes of A major and playing them across these strings in harmony, if you will. You can also do the same concept with like. Favorite little tools is take these little boxes. So I'm just taking notes again, the A major from B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, sorry, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and then taking these little boxes. How about a D natural? And it's okay to play wrong notes, gosh darn it. Because then if we know it's supposed to be a D instead of a D sharp, we can play the right note. And you can kind of think about it just in the same way we're kind of thinking about playing, if you will, these parallel chord voicings or chord scales, as Mr. Vi would say. We can do the same thing with solo shapes. That is to say, I've got B and C sharp, E and F sharp, C sharp and D, F sharp and G sharp, D and E, G sharp and A. Now, for some of you, if you're not comfortable with the note names, let's take the notes and even the scale degree numbers out of it for just a second. Think about the sound. And then we're taking, so basically starting with the open string, and then so a great thing to do would potentially, again, our chord progression 2, 3, 4, A major, C sharp minor, D major, E major. So what I attempted to do was what is that? Oh, is that a Simply Red? So I'm basically going lower, upper on the lower string, lower on the upper string, back to the upper on the lower. No, that's all I did. So just basically you can think of starting from the lowest note and going up 3 notes, backtrack 1, and then go to the top note. But playing little note games where you're trying to and playing it by ear. And you get comfortable with finding the intervals. Those pedals. It's a nice way to break out of the neighbor note thing. That many of us have a tendency to play the same phrases, but quite often everything that we play has a tendency to be a neighbor note. That's what's cool about this. Those little boxes are cool about. The other thing is that the not looking part, you really kind of get more comfortable playing non-neighbor notes that are in a common key because you start playing by touch and by ear. It's just, it's great. And there's nothing wrong with going, hey, I got my licks that I play. That's great. That's part of it. There's no shame in that. But being able to kind of work through the blend of that is great. All right. I missed a few folks. Gosh darn it. Steve Greenleaf. Hello, my friend. Great to see you. Hello. Steve, every time he shows, I've always inspired to just say he was one of those guys that turned me on to all sorts of great music. Um, so that's a song I mentioned it a minute ago. I played it earlier. It's called Atmosphere. And that Andy Timmons is in theory going to play on, which I'm really excited about. But you know, the Jeff Beck influence wouldn't have happened if it weren't for my buddy Steve Greenleaf. So Steve, great to see you. Brett, you know, I had so. This is one of the things about this most recent Vi Academy, and one of the things that does happen is I jump down into the chat. I do have a tendency to go, but I want to say hi to my buds. I had so much fun with you guys. So Brett and I'm going to call you most affectionately the Rat Pack. It's a bunch of guys that I've known, had the privilege of knowing for a bunch of these guitar camps, but they raided my room, and we ate dinner together one night. We had just a hoot of a time, but then they kind of came and raided the room, and we just talked about scales and chords and music, and just had so much fun. And it was really, I really left this camp with my tank really full. I don't know if Roxana is still here, Roxandra, excuse me, but I am so excited. She's another one of the young players that I've had a chance to meet. There is a guy, Gabriel Holbrook. G plays guitar, I think is him on YouTube. He's 12. He's one of my students now. I met him at the Petrucci camp. And it's just, there's a video of him that I'm pretty sure is also on his YouTube of him jamming with Steve Vai. Just, he's 12 and his level of technique is nuts. So excited to be able to work with this next generation of guitar players. It's one of the most rewarding things ever. But the other thing is to hang out with buddies that are more or less my age and being able to just hang out and sharing the love of music and guitar. I left so, with my tank, I was overflowing. It was just full. So Jimmy Jet, and hold on. So Brett, actually, thank you. I had so much fun. It really, you and you guys, just the whole thing filled my tank. So thanks for dropping in. Jimmy Jet, you know, the other thing that, I love that shot, by the way. I also want to encourage people to begin to do, and sometimes it's a, just by playing it and not saying something. And then the rest of the time, I want to actually go, hey, one of the weeks we're going to talk about vibrato. And there's going to be little topics. Again, for the next 7 weeks, we're going to be talking about how to apply the modes. A major, C sharp minor, D major, E major. Straightforward, and if you want to just flip the chords around, A major, D major, C sharp minor, E major, so it's now your own thing, because I really, really, really want to help other people just get their creative engine going. Even if it's just going, okay, well, that's really good. What if we do just take spread chords? That is, say, instead of playing just kind of these more blockish bar chords, we take the 1, 5, and 3 of the major chord, the 1, 5, flat 3 of the minor there at the 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 5, 3 of the 4 chord, 1, 5, 3 of the 5 chord. That's, say, 1 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord. The other thing is we're going to talk about things in a diatonic language, so y'all, if you're not used to, think of things 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. We'll get used to doing that. As I kind of play stuff that you might not necessarily previously have gone, oh, then you kind of go, well, wait a second, he said he's hanging out in the key of A major, so I guess he's just walking up A major or bouncing back and forth between different 6 2 7 3 1 4 2 5 3 6, playing through the key using just the different bass notes and playing the appropriate type of triad over the top of it. And in this case, I'm playing voicings that are 1 5 3 or 1 5 flat 3 or 1 flat 5 flat 3. That's say I'm going 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3. So I'm taking that 1, that 5, and that 3. That's the voicing 1 5 3. And if I want to turn that instead of major to minor, I flat the 3. And if I want to turn that from minor into diminished, I flat the 5. So this is 1 5 3, 1 5 flat 3, and 1 flat 5 flat 3. And collectively, and we'll talk about this more, and I will get some stuff for people to be able to grab that I don't have handy today. But it just goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, major, diminished, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major, major, diminished, minor, major, major, minor, minor, major. And collectively, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh gosh, G sharp there, Doug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you can just use that as building blocks to do that. Yusuf, great to see you at the camp, my man, looking handsome as ever. And I say that, proud to say it, because you were. Great to see you, as always. Melissa Doppler, she's the bestest. Then thanks, RJ, appreciate that. I am, oh, wait a second. Oh, that's RJ. Are you the guy from the clinic? Hey, great hanging out, my man. Hey. So RJ came down to the clinic and show at Replay Guitar Exchange in Orlando, Florida. I had so much fun. Thanks so much. Great to see you, my man. All right, Andy Guitar. It is extremely rewarding to share, and if you're on a phone, that phone is about 1 point. Rewarding to share our wisdom with the next generation. Had a young girl in a test lesson recently. It was amazing to see the skill level they're already at with every lesson. RJ, awesome. The pleasure was mine. Great to see you again as well. Such a nice time hanging out. I love that photo, by the way. Very nice. All right. So gosh darn it, let me get back to work here. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about, I chose, hang on, who did I miss there? Nandini. You're always here in spirit, even if you're not here in personal. All right. So first of all, thanks to everybody jumping in. Focus Fox. I took this progression. So this is the other one. So this is the one where I added the sus4 on the end. So I went, there's another version. So technology. I recorded this whole thing, had a previous version at about 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes before 9 launch time. I did something in Pro Tools, just went to add a master fader so I can control the level, and Pro Tools crashed. Took all my stuff with it. I was like, the obvious part is to save as you go along. But I was able to kind of resurrect this track, but I've got the version that adds that extra chord. It just adds that extra note. It's adding the 4 to the 3. So if this chord is voiced 1, 5, 1, 3, 5, we're going, there's the 3, we're adding the 4, and that's creating suspense, or in this case it's called a sus4 chord to a major chord. And sus4 takes the quality of the chord major or minor. You could do a suspended chord over the diminished, but the name would reflect that. In this case, just take my word for it, a sus4 chord is really just taking the 1st, 4th, and 5th tones of the major scale and building a chord. And quite often is followed by a resolution instead of going from sus4 to major. Or if I did a sus2, quite often we'll go to the major. That doesn't mean that there aren't times where and sorry, so on and so forth. So that's to say, I'm taking each of these triads And what I'm doing, instead of going 1, 3, 5, I'm going 1, 2, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5. So that's a sus2, because the chord, either major or minor, is just determined by the presence of the 3 in combination with a natural 5. I'm getting rid of the 3, so we don't know whether it's major or minor. And we're replacing the 3 with a 2, so it's a sus4. The quality of chord major or minor has been suspended. Sus2, because it's going 1, 2, 5. Sus4, because it's going 1, 4, 5. And that is, say, if I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, sus2, 1, 2, 5. Sus4, 1, 4, 5, major. And if I went up here, I'm just going up to the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Major, sus2, sus4, major, minor, sus2, sus4, minor, 3 chord, sus flat 2, sus4, minor, 4 chord, major, sus2, sus sharp 4, oh, sorry, major, 5 chord, sus2, sus4, and so on and so forth. So what this gives you is the ability to kind of add some flavor. So I use almost always, preferably not that open G string, when I'm going to this 1 chord in the key of A, and I'm playing something like this, I very frequently will do that little sus2 to the 3, as well as the sus4. And again, chords, what did I say? I want to quote myself accurately. You're playing the notes of a scale at the same time. And really just like, if you just kind of go, wait a second, what? Really? A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. I'm playing those notes, A, C sharp, and E. C sharp, E, and G sharp, D, F sharp, and A, E, G sharp, and B. Those are all notes of the scale. In this particular case, those are parallel notes. My B moves to a C sharp. Sorry, my A moves to a C sharp. Losing my mind. The C sharp moves to an E. My E moves to a G sharp. So on and so forth. So you just go walking through here. It's a great way to kind of go, gosh, that's not hard. All right, so the point being, targeted the A, C sharp, and E, the 1, 3, and the 5. Up, G sharp. You don't have to stay at the A, C sharp, and E over the other chords, but you can if you want to, because the overarching point of resolution is there. So I'm only going to play those. Kind of go, I need some more notes, and that's where you begin to really feel. And in fact, it's a great way to kind of feel what I refer to as the tonic triad. That is, say we're in the key of A major, and A is functioning as the 1, and the chord progression is based around that note. So that is to say, if I had the ability to take the notes of A major, and the resolution point was around the 4, sharp. That is say, so that D, F sharp, and A. Those are kind of the notes of the tonic triad, but we're focusing around the A. That is to say, if we took the notes of the A major scale and we focused them around the D note, the 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C sharp, D, we would be focusing basically the 7 notes around the 4th degree, which means we're in D Lydian. But we're instead saying, hey, of all the 7 notes that we can focus on, let's focus around the 1. So the tonic triad is going to be the 3 notes that are the 1, 3, and 5, or whatever mode, that is, say, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you could be putting the root of your chord progression around. For Lydian, it's the 4. So if I go to the 1, 2, 3, 4th note of A, major A, B, C sharp, D, and I build that triad, that's going to be the D, F sharp, and A. Means you actually know what you're targeting with that, because they're target tones. That's what they're called. But in this case, we wanted to target the A, C sharp, and E. So if we just hit those notes, that's not it. Now we begin to use the, how would I go here? And we begin to let our ear guide. So once we are established, our ear is kind of found, okay, that's the tonic chord. Well, then over this chord, guess what? The notes that are in that chord become the best resolution notes for that one because, as I said earlier, gosh darn it, what is a chord? You're playing the notes of a scale at the same time. So probably when I'm playing these notes of the scale at the same time, probably those are the best notes to actually play over that chord. And that one. One of the neat things about this is, if I take a look at this first chord, these notes right here and these notes are in common. So D sharp instead of D. So the idea then, again, we're just messing around with stuff, and I want you to mess around with stuff. It's okay if you break something, it happens. But basically, I'm taking these notes, and again, with Mr. Vai's idea of playing chord scales, or in this case, chord dyads, you're harmonizing. You can also think of it, as long as I play a G sharp instead of a G, you're harmonizing notes of the A major scale. That's a great way. Play them as dyads together, or that was the way I'm going up there, and then I'm going up here. Pentatonic. A major pentatonic. Little half step slide from what is the flat 3 of the key, C, into C sharp. Down a step and a half. Familiar pattern number 1 of the minor pentatonic. If you know your pattern, pentatonic framework there. An important way, and I mentioned this earlier, and I wandered a little bit, the ability to, first of all, in this case, take the notes of the A major scale and know what they are, and then kind of begin to get comfortable again by looking at the neck, knowing what the notes are, but also you don't have to know the note names. Eric, I guess you're leaving, so I will see you when I see you later. You want to know the note names. You also want to think that's the 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. That to say that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1 of the key, because it will be helpful so you can target the 1, 3, and 5. And know that's an A, C sharp, and E. And then when we go to this, that is based on the 3rd note of that A major scale. That makes that a 3 chord, based on the 4 note, based on the 5. And collectively, you can go A, C sharp, E, C sharp, E, G sharp, D, F sharp, A, and E, G sharp, and B. Means you're kind of inside that A, C sharp. If I know the notes of the key, then I know if that's a C sharp. Next note above there is a D, C sharp, and B, so I kind of know what the neighbor notes. Interesting thing is if you can kind of think of that as A, C sharp, and E, and if that's A, that's G sharp, A, there's a B. That's C sharp, that's B, C sharp, D, that's E, that's D, E, and F sharp. And collectively, by hitting those neighbor notes, you will have targeted all the notes in the key. Pentatonic, interestingly enough, kind of leaves out the notes that separate the difference between major, Lydian, and mixed Lydian. And we'll be talking more about this, but the Lydian mode is the major scale, started off its 4th degree. The mixed Lydian mode is the major scale, started off of its 5th degree. Then, if you play them in a common root, major, Lydian, and mixed Lydian, this is major 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, after 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, after 1. And we compare these others to that collective formula, and Lydian, compared to major scale, has a sharp 4. Mixed Lydian, compared to the major scale, has a flat 7. So we learned to be able to think of those as home bass. And if we're thinking about the mixed leading scale as our home bass, you begin to go, hey, we still have the A, C sharp, and E. And the great thing about that is the notes that make mixed Lydian major and Lydian different from one another aren't contained in the major pentatonic, which again is really pattern number 2 of, in this case, F sharp minor pentatonic. So if you know your minor pentatonic, which I think we do, but not only that, know the shapes of the minor pentatonic. Up and down the neck. Then you can add in some of the other modal notes. All right, let me take a look down here and make sure there are any thoughts, comments. All right, good. Andy Guitar, it is extremely rewarding to share window. Oh, good, I already saw that. Scott Gaylor, hello. Great question. Did we record the clinic at Replay Guitars? I think they did. So I don't know any more about that. I'm pretty sure that they did because I think they record everything. Jay Kirkland, you have my guitar stand. Thank you so much. It was on vacation tour with us in Palm Springs. Awesome, enjoying the weather. Safe and sound. Will you guys be at NAMM this year? I will be at NAMM. I'm playing on the Wednesday night. I'm doing the pre-NAMM hang with Worship Musician Magazine. I'm going to be playing, I think, 2 or 3 songs. If you're around, it's free. You don't even have to be going to NAMM to come to it. And there'll be more details on that next week, and I'll be posting that on my socials. And then in turn, also going to be playing that same night at Ronnie Lee's Jam a little bit later. Then I am going to be playing at a couple. I'm hosting the tech tracks for the House of Worship on Saturday at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. At 10 a.m. I'm going to have some friends that are in the modeling / IR space. I'm going to be joined by putting some stuff up on my socials, but I'm going to be joined by my friends from Worship Tutorials, Neural DSP, Spark, gosh darn it, Brain Dead, the folks that make Spark. They're going to be there, and there will be some other folks as well. And then there's another one on the art of worship guitar, and my buddy Jem, who was here a little bit earlier, is going to be one of the panelists on that. So still in process on filling those panels. Doug, great to see you, my man. Thanks so much for turning up. Look at that shot there. Great to see you at your Nashville. I'm sure you are shredding it up. That's a pleasure, my friend. It was nice for you to turn up at the clinic. Great to see you there. So hopefully some point sooner than later we'll get a chance to do a little shredding back and forth. That'd be cool. Awesome. Chris Alexander. So I will be putting the weekly progression. It will always be part of the preview video. And then I've just got to figure out what the best way to share it. I'm probably going to create a Doug Doppler music at Gmail access point that's going to be kind of all stuff related to kind of this part of what I do. So that's probably going to be how it's going to work. And that means I can move it around here and there. And then, but I want people to have access to the weekly progression. Dave Morrison, my dear friend. Oh, let me count the ways. I am definitely going to be there at NAMM. I love that photo, by the way, and I am looking at these lovely isoacoustic stands that you kindly sent me that I don't make a note of music without using. So thank you very much, or at least record. So I will definitely be there. I take it you're going to be there this year. When are we going to hang out? And I may have a studio that may be in need of a pair of your stands, and there's something cooking in the works that I can't really talk about yet, other than to say, see how close I can fly to the sun without the wax melting off. I have a very special guest who's played on one of the songs on the forthcoming album, the instrumental one that is. And there's a studio that I'm potentially, I'm just wading further and further into the depths of this, that we're going to do not only we're going to do a 7.1.4 mix of this song because of the way the parts are going to be laid out, and it's going to be really, 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 really cool. It's got a very cool special guest, and it's just a really fun song. And because there's all these crazy guitars doing all sorts of crazy guitar stuff, it really lends itself for spatial audio. But we're actually going to, spatial traditionally is actually, you got your earbuds on, and it's actually really is binaural, where it's stereo with some cool stuff going on. The reason I mention this, my buddy Dave Morrison has created a series of not only stands for your near field monitors, and his stands are not even just near fields, but his stands are pretty much everywhere, including Abbey Road and various symphonies and so on and so forth, in pretty much every major studio in the world. But he has also created these stands for your 7.1.4. And he had those at the show last year. So Dave, I look forward to seeing you, and I'm going to introduce you to my friends at that studio where we're going to be doing these mixes. That's going to be spatial audio and then some. So can't wait to see you. All right. So are we out of comments? Is that what's going on here? Hello, Mark. Great to see you. Hello, my friend. Happy New Year to you. Wishes do come true. So, if you're ever, you ever do head over to the mainland, I think NAMM, they're now opening up to the public, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a great show. There are people that are lovers of NAMM, and for me, it's a great opportunity to see folks like Dave, who is a dear friend and one of my favorite, dare I say, industry colleagues, if I dare put myself in that framework. But it's a great time. You can make great inroads. So many of the relationships and things that I've done professionally here in terms of video work started at NAMM. So much to be grateful for. All right, I have a lesson that's going to start real soon. So that said, I'm going to bid y'all a fond adieu as a little bit of a recap. And next week, I'm going to be going over the MXR Joshua. We'll probably have something a little bit more detailed about probably the first video. Awesome. You are part of my NAMM family. Eddie O'Brien, great to see you. Oh, look at that. Hanging out in front of the Gibson Buzz. Looking forward to seeing you, my friend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back next Saturday. We will be going over the MXR Joshua delay. There will be something, we'll probably go into deeper details about this little amp and probably its kissing cousin over there, the other prune boogie that is here on loan. Chris, thank you. Hang on just one sec. Oh, no, it's not even here. Chris is always kind. Oh, hang on. You know what? I will. Hang on just a second. Hang on just a second. Hang on. RJ, thank you. What a pleasure. Hang on a second. My buddy Chris sent through some questions. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. I'm going to be playing on Ramble On at Ronnie Lee's Jam, which is really cool. She just messaged me about that. Let me find Chris's message. Chris always sends through some questions, which I always appreciate. So gosh darn it, I want to honor him by answering those. Sorry about the arm and the wrist. Holy cow! I hope that's going to be okay for you real fast. All right. Did I learn anything from Larry during the clinics? It's a great question. As preceded by here, Larry has a wealth of knowledge. Did I learn anything from him at the clinics? One of the things that I constantly learn from Larry is he's really smooth. And the other thing is he's played with those tracks so much, really super, super, super comfortable with the tracks. I'm going to be rehearsing with my tracks on a regular basis such that when I'm playing with tracks and not with a band, I can do it in my sleep. And there could be a band there. There isn't a band there. It doesn't matter. I'm so comfortable with them that I'm fluent with that. So that's one of the very important things I learned. Breaking strings and changing guitars. Yes. So did breaking the string and changing guitars affect how you approached what you were playing? So very rarely do I break a string on stage, and I'm usually very careful about making sure that I put myself in a place that when I need to change strings are changed. So I changed strings on this guitar going into the Replay Guitar Clinic, and I managed to break a string. There I am in the middle of the set. Usually if I can kind of sit down someplace and have the guitar like this, I can change the string within about 120 seconds, give or take. I started to do that because I was on stage, though. It really wasn't easy to do, and I kind of went, so Walla Gibson's over there. Can you grab me a guitar? And so they pulled a Les Paul down off the wall that I think they knew what they were doing. They handed me a great sounding Les Paul, very different than this instrument, a little bit brighter in a good way. And there's nothing like getting to know a guitar literally by playing it with one of your songs. And that's all the lead time you have, which is like first note, here we go. And there are subtle modifications that you make. Thank you, RJ. And yes, that was a gorgeous guitar. So, hey, Michael Hodge, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Great to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping in. This is one of my favorite churches. You guys are the best. Jay, always a pleasure, my friend. All right. So, the broken string in the middle of the set, grab the Les Paul. Every guitar, I don't know, every guitar, I'm going to wander off frame for just a second. Every guitar has a different personality. Let's grab you. And the great thing about it, and this is one of the things that we'll talk a little bit more around here sometime sooner than later, is that if we play, kind of in tune. If we play the same way, by the way, this is one of my favorite, the guy that I bought this from, it's an Epiphone, but they put this kind of like Gibson kind of truss rod cover on here. But this finish, I saw this guitar on Reverb, and I was like, kind of got to have it. Fortunately, what's going on with you? Hey, there we go. But every guitar kind of, you have to... To get it to have the sweet spot, you got to hit it a little differently. So the point being is that when you... This guitar needs a little something done on that pot. There we go. Well, you have to kind of go, okay, how am I going to play this instrument? How am I going to caress the tone out of it? And that Les Paul was a great sounding instrument. So, Chris, to answer your question, kind of had to kind of figure out how I was going to play it. Fortunately, it was a really dynamic guitar. The action was a little bit higher than on the V, so I had to work for it just a little bit, but it was such a rewarding experience to pick up a guitar and kind of go, oh, great guitar. Okay, and it's going to make you play differently. It's going to make the song sound a little bit different, and I just love that. It was really a very special moment for me. And fortunately, it was a moment that went well. All right, let's see. Last thing before I get out of here, because I got a lesson that's going to start in a matter of moments. What was my rig for Steve's experience and the clinic? Great question. And thanks again, Chris. Always appreciated. So just out of sight there, is the Mark 525, which literally is my fly rig, and I'll be doing a video about that. sooner than later. Um, but that little amp there, I literally cover it in bubble pack, stick it in my suitcase. It's my fly rig. Chris Cisneros, bless his soul, loaned me his uh, uh, vertical 212 rectifier cabinet that I used at Steve's camp, and then also for the clinics and the shows. And then where is and then my fractal, and I put over in the rack there. The FM3 that goes in the little case, the Helix backpack, along with the Boss RC600 looper. So collectively, that's the rig there. I did bring the Eddie boost drive with me, but I ended up not using it. But that's a pedal we'll be seeing a lot more of around here. Well, you have a bad pot there. By the way, sometimes it's good to just give it a little bang, and that sometimes makes it behave. In any case, it was really, it was such a neat experience to be able to take that little amp and just kind of plug it in everywhere. And I'm like, man, does it sound great. The Mark 525 is a 25 watt amp instead of having 6 L6s like that does, or the Mark 7 that's sitting over there, which 6 L6s are a much louder, kind of a little bit more aggressive is not necessarily the best description, but they are more in your face. The 6V6, which is what's in a deluxe reverb, they're a little bit more subtle, and they're a pretty sounding tube. But that's what's in the Mark 525, and it's just got a ridiculous gain sound. And a number of people are like, wow, that thing sounds great. And it really does. So it's always nice to just kind of be able to show up and have your tone with you and not really be dependent on anything other than like, that little amp is going to get me through. A little bit of delay and reverb in the loop, and I used a little bit of the delay that's inside there. I mean, the reverb that's inside the amp. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to get ready for my first lesson of the day. Thank you so much for hanging out. I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be working on the Dorian mode. In conclusion, A major, C sharp minor, D major, and E major. Go ahead and throw those down, record something with them, and if you want, also flip the order of the first, I should say the second and third chords instead of going A major, C sharp minor, D major, and E major. Go A major, D major, C sharp minor, and E major, and just spend some time soloing over it and having fun and being creative. RJ, thanks so much, man. What a pleasure. Welcome, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Make it a great one. Play some guitar and have fun and be